In the tight-knit streets of Waterloo, Iowa, where loyalty was a sacred bond, Dante Sanford's name became infamous, not for his crimes but for his betrayals. To the unknowing, Dante portrayed himself as a hardened gangster, a figure who demanded respect. But those who knew him intimately, and those whose lives were destroyed by his actions, saw the truth. A man willing to betray anyone, even his own blood, to protect his facade and stay out of jail. Kelvin Plain, aka Purilla, became Tay Rat's first public victim. Kelvin found himself in the crosshairs after a shooting, and when police brought a photo lineup to Dante aka Tay Rat, he didn't hesitate. "That's him," Tay Rat said, pointing to Kelvin's picture with chilling confidence. Purilla, caught in a web of lies, faced serious charges despite his pleas of innocence. When police investigated a shooting, they turned to Dante Sanford for leads. Without hesitation, Tay Rat identified Kelvin in a photo lineup claiming he was the shooter. Kelvin Plain didn't stand a chance when Tay Rat decided he needed a scapegoat. During a shooting investigation, Dante didn't just point Kelvin out in a photo lineup. He probably circled the picture, drew arrows, and added a sticky note that read, "This guy did it." Tay Rat, the star witness of this case, gave the WPD exactly what they needed to close this case. "That's him right there," Tay Rat said, pointing to Kelvin's photo like he was picking his next meal at a drive-thru. The officers involved probably received bonuses and raises from this star witness's performance. Kelvin was silenced before he could spill the beans. Classic snitch eats snitch to survive logic. Dante's treachery extended to his co-defendant. During an investigation involving a shooting, Dante went out of his way to ensure his co-defendant bore the brunt of the blame. He provided investigators with the co-defendant home address, told them exactly where the co-defendant had been seated in the car during the incident, and directly implicated him in the crimes. Dante didn't just implicate the co-defendant in a crime, he gave investigators the equivalent of a guided tour. "You'll find my co-defendant at this address, doorbell works, don't knock too loud." He was sitting right there in the car, driver's side, wearing a red hoodie and looking guilty as hell. If snitching were a sport, Tay Rat would have been inducted into the Hall of Fame by now. But here's the kicker. The co-defendant still hangs around Dante. Not because they're friends, but because he's terrified of the retaliation snitching network that Dante seems to command. The co-defendant is probably the only guy in town who responds to Dante's texts faster than the cops do. Now, let's dive into one of Tay Rat's greatest hits, his decision to help Jay Rich during a murder trial. You'd think helping someone in a case like this might involve, providing an alibi or saying something like, "Jay Rich wasn't even there." But no, Dante's idea of assistance was pointing a glowing neon finger at his own brother, Justin Doan, and saying, "He's the shooter, not Jay Rich, I promise." If snitching were an Olympic sport, Dante would have nailed the gold medal for this performance. Tay Rat's inner thoughts. How do I make people respect me? Oh, I know, snitch on my brother, blame him for a crime he didn't commit, and make myself look like the hero. Genius! Spoiler alert, this plan backfired spectacularly. Instead of earning street cred, Dante became the subject of jokes, memes, and probably a few group chats titled, "Tay Rat's Greatest Snitch Hits." And let's talk motivation. Why did Dante even do this? Theories abound, but one of the funniest is that he thought framing Justin would elevate him to real status. As if people were going to say, "You know who's the real gangster in Waterloo? The guy who sold out his brother to help another dude. That's loyalty, right there." Spoiler, they did not say that. Tay Rat didn't just throw Justin under the bus, he drove the bus, reversed it, and then handed the keys to the cops for good measure. Jay Rich, for his part, probably couldn't believe his luck. Imagine sitting in court and hearing Tay Rat take the stand. "And what do you have to say about the events in question? It wasn't Jay Rich, it was Justin, my brother. Jay Rich is innocent. Jay Rich!" Wait, what? Is this dude for real? The irony? Despite Tay Rat's attempts to be a real one, the streets saw right through it. People weren't impressed with his lying theatrics. Instead, they started using his name as slang for betrayal. "Don't pull a Tay Rat, man" became the go-to warning for anyone tempted to sell out their friends or family. Let's revisit the tragic tale of Justin Doan, Dante's brother, and the ultimate victim of Tay Rat's snitch-infused antics. While it's bad enough that Dante dragged Justin's name through the mud to prop up his flimsy gangster persona, The story takes an even darker turn when we consider how Justin met his end. Justin's death wasn't some tragic accident or a result of his own actions. It was the fallout of Tay Rat's women cheating on him. That's right, Dante couldn't even keep his personal life in check without sparking chaos. When his women decided to explore greener pastures instead of handling the situation like a grown man, Dante decided to escalate the drama. The result? A feud spiraled out of control, and Justin Doan was the one who paid the ultimate price. The big question. What did Tay Rat do after his brother was killed? Did he seek justice or stand up for Justin, the brother he so eagerly snitched on but claimed to care about? Nope, not even close. Tay Rat let the killer walk in peace as if Justin's life was just another casualty in the circus of his own making. Tay Rat's gangster image. This is where things get especially rich. Tay Rat loves to project the image of a tough guy, a street-savvy gangster who commands respect. But when it came time to stand up and show that toughness, he folded faster than a cheap lawn chair. Instead of taking action or even confronting the situation, Tay Rat did nothing. He didn't want the smoke, the backlash, or the responsibility. The streets of Waterloo didn't miss this glaring contradiction. Real gangsters don't let their brother's killer roam freely, unbothered. People started asking, how you gonna call yourself tough when you let the guy who took your brother out live like nothing happened? Tay Rat's silence spoke volumes, and it became clear to everyone that his so-called tough guy persona was about as real as a dollar store chain. Justin Doan, respected and admired, died because Tay Rat couldn't manage his hose without causing chaos. And while Justin's memory lives on as someone who didn't deserve any of the betrayal or tragedy that came his way, Tay Rat's legacy is one of cowardice and contradictions. He wanted people to believe he was a real one, but his inaction showed the opposite. In the end, Tay Rat didn't just lose a brother, he lost whatever shred of credibility he might have had. And while Justin's name is remembered with respect, Tay Rat's name became synonymous with betrayal, weakness, and the kind of guy who starts wars over hoes but disappears when it's time to face the consequences. As more of Dante's actions came to light, the real ones in his neighborhood distanced themselves. The real ones, the people who live by codes of honor and loyalty, dropped him like a bad habit. These days, Dante's circle of friends includes other infamous informants, probably meeting at weekly snitch strategy sessions where they trade tips like, always bring a pen, you never know when you'll need to sign a statement. Remember to cry a little during your testimony, it makes you seem more credible. The betrayal ran deep. Dante, aka Tay Rat, had ruined lives, destroyed families, and shattered trust, all while maintaining the facade of a gangster. His denials grew louder, but the evidence was overwhelming, laid bare in public records and the pages of the Waterloo Courier. Those who once called him a friend now saw him for what he truly was, a man who hid his hand while orchestrating snitching. What makes Tay Rat's story even funnier is how he denies everything. Ask him about the allegations and he'll say, "Me? A snitch? Never. On my own brother?" Meanwhile, his fingerprints are all over police records like a kid caught stealing cookies. Except the cookies are other people's freedom. He's implicated friends, family, and probably a few people who just happened to be in the wrong place at the wrong time. And yet, somehow, Tay Rat's favorite pastime isn't snitching, it's denying that he snitches. Tay Rat's denials are almost as legendary as his snitching. You know the type, always quick to yell, "It wasn't me," like he's auditioning for a remix of that Shaggy song. Every time his name pops up in a case file, his response is something along the lines of, "I didn't snitch, the cops just figured it out on their own." What lineup? I've never even seen no photos. Man, they just put my name in there cause they are jealous. The sheer creativity of his excuses is impressive. Tay Rat could write a Snitching for Dummies guide, but his sequel, How to Deny It Like a Pro, would be an even bigger bestseller. The streets aren't buying it. Of course, the streets of Waterloo aren't falling for his routine. But every time someone confronts him, Tay Rat clutches his pearls like he's the victim here. He acts as if being called a snitch is some grand conspiracy. Man, they just mad cause I'm doing better than them. Better at what though? Selling out your people? One of Tay Rat's most laughable denials is his claim that he didn't help Jay Rich during his murder trial. Despite court records showing otherwise, Tay Rat swears up and down he had nothing to do with it. He'll tell anyone who will listen, "I ain't point out my brother. That wasn't me. Jay Rich just lying." Meanwhile, Jay Rich probably read the newspaper and chuckled to himself. And let's not forget that Tay Rat and Jay Rich were housed in the same prison when the news dropped. You'd think Tay Rat might try to confront Jay Rich, but no. If it was Cap, why didn't you swing or stab him? If this was your brother, if you was real and didn't say it, why not stand on business? Instead, he probably avoided eye contact, kept his head down, and told himself, if I don't say nothing, maybe people won't notice. Spoiler, they noticed. What makes Tay Rat's denials even funnier is his ability to completely ignore the obvious. It's like watching someone with crumbs all over their face, swearing they didn't eat the last cookie. The evidence is right there, but Tay Rat insists, that ain't me, I swear. And let's not forget his circle of fellow snitches. Tay Rat isn't just denying his own antics, he's out here shaking hands with the other top rats in the city. It's like a secret society of informants, complete with a handshake and membership card. In the end, Tay Rat's denials are almost as entertaining as his betrayals. While he may think he's fooling people, the truth and the laughs are always just a public record away. Conclusion: the streets don't forget. Dante Sanford, aka Tay Rat's legacy in Waterloo, is set in stone, or maybe in yellow sticky notes. His name is a punchline in the streets, a cautionary tale of what happens when ambition meets treachery. The real ones have long since walked away, shaking their heads at the guy who tried to climb the ranks of street life by stepping on everyone around him. In the end, Dante will be remembered not as a kingpin, a gangster, or even a respectable hustler, but as Tay Rat, Waterloo's most infamous snitch.